From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. It is Wednesday, January 25th, and also it's a special day for me and my family as well, too, even though we had our sad news about 90 days ago, but it's all good because that's how life works. But I just want to go ahead and wish a happy heavenly birthday to my father, Jason Brown, who would have been 75 today. So, you know, pretty much we want to go ahead and wish Pops a happy birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the subjects in hand for today. And pretty much up first, we're going to talk about Sean Payton being the right fit for the Broncos. Is he the right fit for the Broncos? That's the question. I'm going to be really, really honest here when it comes to Sean Payton. I like Sean Payton. Sean Payton's a good guy. He has a good football brain, football mind, and all that good stuff. He's one of our more successful offensive coordinators when he was an offensive coordinator and transferred into being one of our elite head coaches in the NFL as well, too. I would say this, in his first, possibly his first, 5 years or so, after Katrina and when they became a good team, because people have to understand that the Saints were not a good team before Sean Payton got there. They were nowhere near being a good team. But Sean Payton was able to get Drew Brees. That was very important. And then also he drafted Reggie Bush as well, too. The ultimate weapon at the time, because I don't care what anybody says, New Orleans was an absolute machine because of Reggie Bush. You know what I mean? Reggie Bush will never be in the Hall of Fame, but his contribution to that Super Bowl season was absolutely stunning. It was Hall of Fame worthy, but he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. So I think that those first 5-6 years with the Saints being the way that they were a good storyline for the NFL because – the Saints were always lowly. They used to be called the Aints. So pretty much Sean Payton came in there and brought some respect to them. You didn't even really know that they had a lot of fans like that. But when Sean Payton made the moves that he made with this team, they actually had fans outside of the state of Louisiana as well, too, because drafting Reggie Bush was huge because at the time there was no team in Los Angeles. So anybody who was a superstar at SC, a lot of people who loved SC and loved Reggie Bush gravitated to the Saints. And the Saints were just a very impressive team on their way up to the top, and their pinnacle moment came at the Super Bowl. Miami was able to get an awesome win against the legendary Peyton Manning, and everybody was just very awestruck about what happened in that game because it was just so incredible of a game, to be honest with you. It just was a very great moment, and I truly do feel like when it all came down to it that, the Saints had completed the mission, after 5-6 years after stadium pretty much was flooded out, they were able to win a championship, and it was all led by this man. And right after they won that Super Bowl, I felt like the Saints got a little bit of an ego. They started really feeling like anything they can do was going to work on the offensive end. Then when they figured out they didn't have a great defense, they went ahead and got a great defense to complement Drew Brees in that offense. I always felt like Sean Payton was one of our more innovative coaches as well, too. So he was able to do a lot of things that were brand new in a sense, for head coaches to do. I feel now, though, when it comes down to Sean Payton, in reality, Sean Payton ain't really much of a person that you overspend for, in my opinion. When you really look at Sean Payton's resume, yes, he's been to plenty of playoff, he's had plenty of playoff games. But let's keep it real. He played, he coached in the conference championship twice and won that game once. And yes, he does have a Super Bowl as well too. But look at really his tenure. We can't treat Sean Payton like he did what Belichick did, or he did what Bill Parcells did, or he just, I feel like he's a great leader of men, but don't oversell Sean Payton as if he's some fix-it type of coach. I feel like everything worked out correctly with the New Orleans Saints because that was a team he was able to build. In Denver, they're not going to really ask you to build this thing. They're going to ask you to get this thing right year one. It's that simple. And you're going to have to deal with Russ Wilson as well, too. Because regardless of what anybody says, they can't move off of Russell Wilson for another at least 2 years. But they may be able to get a draft day trade. You never know. But I think that Sean Payton just wants to show everybody that he is coming back to coaching. I don't think he necessarily chooses the Broncos, though. I don't think that he's going to not go over his other options before he chooses Denver. I would say last year he was a great fit for this team. I would honestly, because you bring in Russell, you bring in a whole bevy of players and things like that, and you got some excitement with the defense. But this year, after you see exactly what the Broncos are, you bring in a high name, a coach who's actually had experience in the NFL before as a head coach for this team, but not this guy. I feel like Sean Payton is a guy, and I know it sounds really crazy, but if I was Sean Payton, I would be thinking like how I did with New Orleans in a sense. You have Houston of all places. He has a home in Texas as well too, and his family lives in Texas, his kids and stuff. So I would say, I know Dallas is in Houston, but Houston would probably be the best pick because Houston, you're getting a top pick in the draft because when you look at it, you know that Chicago's not drafting a quarterback. They have the number one pick, but they're not drafting a quarterback. Okay. And Houston's drafting a quarterback, but they can also go ahead and try to trade for a quarterback as well, too. So I truly do feel that if he was able to get a total fresh start with a brand new rookie quarterback, that's exactly what the doctor ordered for Sean Payton and the Texans franchise, because you have to understand the Texans were not a bad franchise until a few years ago. They were actually one of the better franchises when it came to actually putting together teams, in my opinion, of guys that weren't big names, but they're guys that can play the game, so I think that this would kind of be a red flag for people in a sense going to Houston with the history of Sean Payton as well too. Sean Payton had some issues off the field, and he also had some issues out in the locker room as well too, being suspended for Bountygate and everything like that for a whole year. So I truly do feel like coaches like him, you had to really keep them on a short leash. It doesn't matter what they did for me before. They have to show me what they can do for me now, because Sean Payton did get away with almost murder. Because if any other coaches did what he did in these certain situations, they would have been fired. But that was a different day. Today, it's a little different, So all in all, Sean Payton going to the Broncos is not the fit for me. All right, but if he does go to the Broncos, it should be a good move, but it just doesn't work for me. And I'm only bringing it up because this seems like it's a very hot topic this week, and I just wanted to get into it a little bit because I like Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton's a really, really good coach, and I'm not trying to dog him out or anything like that. I just don't think that him and Denver are a good marriage. I think that him and Denver are more of a, hey, how you doing? It was good meeting you. Thank you for showing me around the facility. But I think I'm going to move on to the next candidate, because pretty much he's courting teams. Teams aren't courting him. And that's how it kind of works with coaches that have Super Bowl rings and things like that. So with that, we move forward and let's go ahead and jump into our next topic in hand. And that's going to be Scott Rolen making the Hall of Fame. Scott Rolen has been elected to Cooperstown. Was it deserved? I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but we all know Scott Rolen was played for the Cardinals, he played for the Phillies, and he played for the Reds. And it's crazy because he played for all the traditional teams that were red. You know what I mean? In the National League. Think about it. The Cincinnati Reds, the Cardinals, the Phillies, they all have a vast history in the MLB. And you know what? A lot of people don't know this. He finished up his career with the Blue Jays. But he did finish up his career with the Blue Jays. A lot of people didn't care for all that, but he was great in St. Louis. He was great in Cincinnati, and he was great in Philadelphia as well too. He was always a guy who could be a person you can trust. He was a very solid baseball player. I'm not going to ever say he was a great baseball player. I would feel like he was a very solid baseball player because he had a great glove, and he wasn't a big home run hitter, but he was a consistent hitter, and he was an all-star as well too, multiple all-star. So with Scott Rolen making the Hall of Fame, it just kind of shows that the Hall of Fame was tired of not electing somebody. You know what I mean? And so they went and got a guy that they know nobody can accuse of doing roids or doing any doing any growth hormones or anything, any GHG or anything like that. So he's just one of those guys that is just very simple, a good old school baseball player type who was a player from the 90s, and the 2000s as well too. And this was the era where they're stuck at right now, to where they had to put in players, and a lot of these players have dirty pass, and Scott Rolen is one of these guys that doesn't. But I think if they were just going by the rules and nobody ever figured out that these guys were cheating early in the 2000s, Scott Rolen would have had to wait until about 2040 or 2040 before even being mentioned in the coming to the Hall of Fame. Like literally, I think he would have been voted in by the senior society or something like that. But the list has gotten so bad to where it's like I can't just not let certain people in, or we just got to have a ceremony at some point as well too. So Scott Rolen getting in is more of a kind of, I wouldn't say a force, but I would just say that he kind of was just right on time. Him and Fred McGriff were kind of just right on time for the scenario that's occurring. But I know that they're going to have to reweigh their options just a little bit and tell themselves that we do have other guys in this Hall of Fame that do have some story past and, might not have been the greatest people. And we can't just keep people out. You know what I mean? Because come on, if you're really being PC, if you're really talking about people who may not need to be in there anymore. Think about Ty Cobb. They made a whole movie showing how bad Ty Cobb was as a person, but they say, no, we cannot take away from what he did on the baseball field. So you got to do the same thing for the guys that you feel are cheaters, because in a real way, they weren't cheaters. What happened is that they did something that enhanced their skills. But at the end of the day, it's very hard to hit a baseball 400 feet out of a ballpark with the ball coming at you at 100 miles per hour. That takes real skill, and that takes real hand-eye coordination as well too. Baseball by far is the toughest mental game that you can absolutely deal with, and steroids don't help you think better. So I think that the Baseball Hall of Fame truly does need to check itself and say to themselves, we have to let the best players in, regardless of what rules that we do have and all that stuff. These rules have been broken plenty of times, and we can't just let a whole group of people from 120 years ago in who had some things going on in that dugout, but they wasn't spoken upon, and then just stopping people for allegedly doing something. You never saw anybody physically put it in their system. You just allegedly said that these people did steroids. That's what you said. You never tested anybody either. So at the end of the day, it's a he said, she said situation, even with the list that came out. So that's my 2 cents on that. But congratulations to Scott Rolen. All in all, it was a joy to watch him play the game. And congratulations once again on your entry into Cooperstown. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our next subject, and that's going to be the fight that we got going on this weekend between the champ himself, Arthur Beterbiev, going against Anthony Yarde, top challenger. Anthony Yarde actually was a very hot commodity a few years ago. He actually fought Sergey Kovalev overseas as well too, and that was a big fight. And a lot of people were very high on Yarde then, but Yarde did run out of steam in that fight and was knocked out late in the fight. Now, Beterbiev is a guy that has became the new, the new boogeyman somewhat of boxing. Like I would say the new Triple G. You know what I mean? Because they have this idea that, nobody can break him, and he breaks everybody that he fights. But he has been knocked down twice. Triple G has never been knocked down. So there is a difference in that. But he is a light heavyweight as well, too. And light heavyweights, they can crack. So it doesn't really matter when a light heavyweight gets knocked down, as long as he gets up and he can win the fight, because it's going to happen. Just like with heavyweights, it's going to happen. So Beterbiev comes into this fight very confident, but he's not overlooking Yarde. Yarde knows that this is a big moment for him to go ahead and right that wrong from the fight with Sergey Kovalev. So for European terms and UK, this fight is absolutely humongous. But in America, this fight is just going to be really big for actual fight fans, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And even myself, I'll probably watch it. I might watch it. I'm not going to guarantee I watch it, but if it does wind up on ESPN, it will be a good chance that I do watch it, because you guys got to understand, boxing is really at a sad state right now, in my opinion. It's really tough for us to all, and I cover boxing. It's really tough for people to want to go and watch these fights, because the fights aren't really the best versus the best. That's okay, because we know there's a business in boxing. But at the end of the day, though, how long do you think that your crowd is going to stick around for watching your big time fighters fight against some guy that they know that they're going to knock out? And boxing's not like how it was when I was younger, in the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that, where guys who fought on TV and fought on pay-per-view were top level fighters. Now they just bring in guys that are B level fighters, C level fighters, so then they can have a body for the big time fighter that they have. People have noticed the bullshit. I'm just going to say it like that. And people are tired of it. And so boxing cannot feel like it's going to keep going further if they keep playing the people. You have to give the people what they want, but the people have to be invested in this as well too. You can't say you're the biggest boxing fan and you still fights every single weekend. Okay, you're not a big boxing fan, you're a thief. And you can't say you're the biggest boxing fan if you only watch the fights with the big guys in them. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty of boxing all over the world for people to be into. So I truly do feel like this one right here winds up being a very good fight. It's a really, to the people who think they know everything about boxing, that this should be an easy walk in the park for Beterbiev. But I don't see it that way. I feel like Yarde is a guy that wants to get back that L. Simple and plain. And Yarde feels that he's capable enough to be a world champion. A lot of people said that he's good enough to be a world champion. So the time is now. Will he be able to step it up and become a world champion? That's the biggest question. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I look forward to a very, very good fight this weekend. And if there's an upset there, I wouldn't be surprised. Probably you, but I wouldn't be surprised. Why? Because this is boxing, and in boxing, anything can happen. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next topic in hand, which is going to be about tonight's CBB game of the day. And the CBB game of the day is going to be between these two Big East rivals. Tonight, you got Xavier 16-4 at UCONN number 19, 16-5, 6.5. And let me take that back. I don't even think Xavier was in the Big East when before UConn left the Big East. So let me take that back because I don't really remember Xavier and UConn locking it up when they broke up the Big East. I know that Xavier did come, though. Xavier came in the room with Butler, Creighton, and they were all at the time actually at the time A-10 teams. So they all came in together. DePaul came in years prior, but they were a Conference USA team. They came in with Louisville and South Florida as well, too. You know what I mean? Like, I can name off all the teams that came in together into the Big East, and then you look up and it's like, okay, but this is who's left. So you have Xavier, who's probably one of the quietest top 25 teams this year, that they just go about their business. Honestly, they do. And they've had some really good wins this year as well, too. So you can't take much away from this team. You have to respect everything that this team is doing right now, in my opinion. I think that Xavier does have a game where if they can win this one, it'll be a big proving point. But Xavier is coming fresh off of a good win over Georgetown last Saturday after the upset loss in Chicago to DePaul, and that did snap their long winning streak as well, too. They had an 11-game winning streak at one point, and they were absolutely serving teams. They even beat UConn by 10, but that game was played in Cincinnati at the Sinatsa Center. So this is a different bag. This is a UConn team that's only lost one game at home, and it was to one of their rivals, St. John's. So St. John's did get the better of them, but let's keep it real. This team has lost their last 5 out of 7 games as well, too. At one point, they lost 3 in a row. They just got that right with a 30-point win over Butler. So tonight, they walk into this game looking to go ahead and add another win, and they're at home, too. So this is a big spot for them. But they did get beat by 10 by Xavier last time out. They were the number 2 team in the nation at that time as well, too. So when I look at the way that this game sets up, UConn should be fast and furious to start this game off and locking it up. But Xavier has a way to make things very uncomfortable for you, and they're playing much better basketball now that their true head coach has returned in Sean Miller. Sean Miller spent about a decade over in the desert at Arizona. He's came back home to the university that got him the gig over at Arizona, and he's doing a damn good job as we speak right now. And I think that he's right at home here with the Xavier Musketeers as well, too, because this is the type of unit that he needs to be with. Arizona is a big ask. It's a big platform. They have expectations of Elite 8 or better, or Final Four or better. You know what I mean? They're not looking at a team. They're not worried about, just getting to the tournament. They trying to get far in the tournament. And they did have probably the best recruiting team out the conference as well, too. Everything was just so good for them, but it just was not the right fit after a while. They got into some trouble over there. Now he's back at Xavier. Xavier's playing the same type of basketball that Arizona was playing before he left. And Arizona's playing good, but they were much better with him as their head coach. So with that, tonight, I think UConn does bounce back in this one. I'm going to be dead honest with you. I think UConn bounces back, and they bounce back pretty nicely in this game as well, too. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But with that, I'll be right back after our commercial. And when I do get back, we will get into the NBA for tonight as well, too, starting with the state of the Lakers. And then we will talk about the 5 games I got ready for you guys for Thursday night. So you guys stay tuned. For Wednesday night. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the state of the Lakers. The Lakers lost last night by 18. It was not good, you know what I mean? But it's okay because we weren't expecting them to, just whoop up on the Clippers like that last night. The Clippers were kind of like, they kind of had it in the back of their head that they had to play the Lakers pretty hard last night because the Lakers are a tough team right now. Yeah, their record doesn't really show their effort. That's my whole thing. And I say this because the Lakers actually did force 12 turnovers last night to their 6 turnovers. The Lakers just were out rebounding, and that was crazy because the Lakers got out rebounded by 15, 47-32. And also, the Clippers figured out a way to, get that extra pass out. And dude, they hit like 23s last night. They hit 15 in the first half. So, the Clippers just had a lights out, shoot them out type of game, and the Lakers just could never get comfortable. That's all it is. The Lakers will make a little run, then the Clippers had an answer for it with their own little run. LeBron James still had 46 points last night, which was absolutely incredible, but it just wasn't enough last night to help the Lakers win that game. And it's okay, but I know he was pretty pissed last night because the Lakers are making waves right now. And if the Lakers would have been able to win that game, they quite possibly would have been already in a play-in spot as well, too. Or they would have been closer because the Lakers right now are sitting a game and a half outside of the playoff spot. They fall back down to 13. They were at number 12 last night. So pretty much they fall back down 1 because them and Portland have the same amount of wins, but Portland has 1 loss less than they do. So the Lakers are sitting here looking at 5 teams ahead of them right now, pretty much. Not even 5, like 6 teams ahead of them, 7, 8 teams ahead of them. And they all have 24 or 25 losses. And the Lakers have 26. So the Lakers are only 2.5 games out from being an actual playoff team without being in a play-in situation, okay? So a lot of us have to understand the Lakers just have to just keep playing with the same energy that they're playing with, because a streak for them is very, very, very likely and very, very soon as well too. They have AD coming back tonight. AD is a godsend in a sense right now because they need AD badly. AD is ready to come in here and get to work because you got LeBron, who's moved his average all the way up to 30.2. He's been averaging 35 points per game as well, too. You have Anthony Davis bringing back his 27 points per game with his 12 rebounds. And to top it off, he leads the team in blocks, the 2.1 blocks. So they need this for the defensive side. He's been out since December 16th, and it looks like Lonnie Walker will probably be joining them on their road trip as well, too. So they got the reserves coming back in. And then you also do still have Austin Reeves as well, too, who's nursing that hamstring, but he should be back very soon as well, too. And when you get these 3 guys back, it should help the Lakers out immensely because the Lakers have found an identity. They found exactly what they want to do. They figured out what they can do. And I think that this could be LeBron's most trying season ever, but it could be his greatest season ever because he's older and he has to really go through the fire and he has to do so much to win these games. But he's been absolutely incredible this last month as he chases the record by Kareem. And, that's going to be bittersweet for a lot of us because I'm a big Kareem fan. And I know a lot of the Laker faithful are big Kareem fans as well too. But if it's anybody that can do it, glad it's going to be another Laker. Now, when I look at the game tonight, the Spurs coming here 2-9 in the month of January. They're also 5-16 straight up on the road, and they're 5-26 straight up versus the West. Now, when it comes to the spread, they're 23-24, and on the road against the spread, they're 9-12. And then when it comes down to the spread versus the Western Conference, they're 12-19. So this team, when it comes to covering the spread, they're good, but when it comes to winning games, they're really, really bad. They are one of the worst teams in the Western Conference, but they really, it really is like, but the Lakers can't say much because that's the team that's behind them right now at this point. So, you have a San Antonio team who only has 14 wins on the season, and they have 33 losses. This team was never going to be a really good team. But the craziest part about them was they started the season 6-2. So they do always kind of loom with danger, but it's kind of crazy that they've only won 8 games out of their last, I would say 40. So that's just, I just keep talking about it. I'm just like, wow, that's not good at all. So, yeah, like literally, like they've lost 31 out of 39. Like that's not good. You know what I mean? So, I truly do feel this team tonight is going to be much tougher than they look on paper. The Lakers can't walk into this game like they licking their chops thinking that this is going to be barbecue chicken tonight. The Lakers are still not that good of a defensive team to even think like that. So the Lakers have to look at this one in a revenge type mentality, like, well, we know we're playing against a team that's not as good as the Clippers, so let's go ahead and get on them early and act like they are the Clippers from last night, and do all the things that we wasn't able to do last night. Now the Lakers are 7-5 in January after that loss last night. LeBron's 185 points away from the scoring record. And also AD should be a go for the first time in 2023. And Rue Hachimura will be getting some heavy minutes in his debut tonight. I don't know if he's necessarily starting, but I did hear he is going to be getting some heavy minutes tonight. And then you have the straight up at home 12-12 for the Lakers right now after last night. Lakers are 500 at home straight up versus the Western Conference right now. They're 11-17. And also when it comes to the spread, they're 11-13 straight at home, and they're 11-16-1 against the spread versus the West. The Lakers do lead this season series 3-0, and they look to sweep the Spurs tonight. So the Lakers need to be on their A game and understand that this is a must-win situation, because going into Boston, there is no telling what's going to happen in that game. And then after that, they have a rendezvous in New York City with the team in Midtown and the team in Brooklyn, the Nets and the Knicks. So pretty much it's going to be a very, very fun weekend for the Lakers in a sense, because they get a few days off, but they get to go to Boston, and then they get to go hang in the city for about 3 days. So it is what it is. And I think that this will be a very, very good game tonight. I look forward to it. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it checks out. And let's go ahead and talk about our NBA Wednesday night. NBA Wednesday night presents 10 teams tonight. I got 5 games for you guys. All really good games tonight as well, too. A lot of East versus West matchups as well. We're at that point right now where a lot of these teams are going to be playing each other. And a lot of these teams have already played each other this season. So if it's like your first time playing each other, it's like, wow, it's your first time playing each other this year. So let's go ahead and jump into our first game, which is going to be a really good one. This is going to be the Nets and the 76ers. This game is going to be in Philly tonight as well, too. You have a Nets team that's 29-17 coming into the game, while you have the 76ers who are 30-16. Now, we all know that the Nets are kind of struggling right now because they did lose Durant for a significant period, but it's not that big of a deal because they ran out and had a pretty good streak there for a while. They had won, I think, 13 out of 14 games to put themselves right at the top group in the Eastern Conference. They're 5-5 in the month of January, coming off of a good win the other night against the Warriors. Now they're 16-10 straight up on the road. They're 20-8 straight up versus the East. They're 5-3 against the spread and straight up versus the Atlantic. Now, when it comes to the spread in general, they're 22-23-1. On the road against the spread, they're 14-12. Versus the East, they're 12-15-1 against the spread. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, they've went under in 27 of their 46 games. So the Nets looking to, stay in this one, stay afloat. They are a 6-point dog tonight as well, too, because that has moved up. You have the Sixers coming in here 9-2 in the month of January. This team is playing some really, really, really good basketball right now, and they've had a couple streaks as well this month. So they're feeling good, feeling great. You have the 76ers are 17-7 straight up at home. They're 17-10 versus the Eastern Conference, and versus the Atlantic, they're 4-3. Now, when it comes down to the spread, they're 26-19-1 against the spread at home. They're 15-8-1 against the spread versus the Eastern Conference, 14-12-1, and against the spread versus the Atlantic, they're 3-4. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, in their 46 games, they've actually went over in 28 of them. So tonight, when I look at this one, I expect a very close game because this game is an ESPN game as well, too. Let me double check and make sure it is an ESPN game because we got a lot of good games tonight. So you might not be getting your ESPN game. But yes, they're going to be on ESPN tonight, Nets and 76ers, because we got Nuggets and Bucks as well, too. So that's why I'm like, it's funny that they get the ESPN game, but it's understandable, too. So you have a very good spot tonight. I think since this game is on national television, especially ESPN, it'll be much closer than it looks on paper. I know Kevin Durant's not playing, but I think the Nets have a little bit of get back in their brain as well, too, because the Nets played against the 76ers when the 76ers were supposedly supposed to get whooped on, and the 76ers wound up winning that night. So the Nets might be able to reverse that situation, but I do truly feel the Nets will make this game very close, and they'll keep the game close. So that +6 is looking really, really good to me right now. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next game, which is going to be the Timberwolves and the Pelicans. The Timberwolves coming to this game 24-25. Pelicans are 26-22. They are struggling mightily right now as well, too. They are struggling pretty badly as well. You know what I mean? Because since Zion went out, they just have not been the same team. They've actually dropped their last 5 in a row and really their last 6 out of 8 as well, too. They just have had a really bad month. And in the month of January right now, just things aren't looking good. But the Pelicans do lead the series. The Wolves are 8-4 in the month of January, while you have a 8-15 straight up record on the road for the Timberwolves. Also 9-13 straight up as an underdog, and 15-16 and 15-16 straight up versus the Western Conference. Now, when it comes to the spread, they're 22-27. And against the spread on the road, they're 9-14. And as an underdog, they're 11-11. Versus the West, they're 15-16 against the spread. And then when it comes to the over-under in their 49 games, they've went under 25 times. Now, the Pelicans, as I already said, they've lost 5 in a row, but they've also dropped their last 9 out of 12 to have a 3-9 record here in the month of January. Now, they're 17-7 straight up at home. Their record is kind of they've dropped a few of their last home games as well, too, including last night, losing that game by 1 point to the number 1 seeded Nuggets. Now, they are 18-8 straight up as a favorite, and they're 16-11 straight up versus the Western Conference. Now, against the spread, they're 24-24, and at home, they're 14-10 against the spread, 10-12 against the spread as an underdog, and then versus the Western Conference, they're 14-13 against the spread. Now, when it comes down to their 48 games on the over and under, they've actually went over in 28 of them. So when I look at this one tonight, I say to myself that this really does have the makings of a possible upset, because a lot of people will overbet this game tonight because Brandon Ingram's coming back for this game tonight. So I truly do feel like that can happen, but I also know that the New Orleans plays so much better at home, and having Brandon Ingram back should be an improvement tonight as well, too, over this very inconsistent Minnesota team. I think that the Pelicans right some wrongs. They end this 5-game losing streak and get themselves a nice little win here. I'm going to take them with the minus 150. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Nuggets and the Bucks, the Nuggets and the Bucks, and what a lot of people would call a possible finals preview, because you have the Nuggets who are 34-14, you have the Bucks who are 30-17, and we all know a few years back the Bucks did win the World Championship. So you have a Nuggets team that's actually coming into their own. They're actually looking like the team that they have envisioned, because they want to be the first team to have a positionless players, because literally they have a point center in Jokic. So, these guys play absolutely the best team ball in the NBA. They're so unselfish, and they play really good team defense as well too when needed. Now, the Bucks, on the other hand, they're one of the better defensive teams in the league. They have one of the best players in the league in Giannis. And, this game is a pitting MVPs versus MVPs. The last 3 MVPs are going to be on the court for this game. Really, I think the last 4 MVPs are going to be on the court for this game. So pretty much, I think Giannis has his 2 in a row, and then you have Jokic with his 2 in a row. So this is a primetime matchup right here. Even though it's not going to be on primetime television, it's still a really, really big game. And I truly do feel that this one does wind up being more of a defensive game. So I do like the under in this spot, to be honest with you guys. I think the under is a great play here. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it shakes out, but I do like the under here, but I think the over will be the play, to be honest with you guys, because the under looks good, but the over should be hitting tonight, in my opinion, because I have to remember exactly what I put my money on. And I'm thinking about my next game. That's why I'm talking about overs. But this game does have under written all over it as well, too. I know that I just said over, but for scratch what I just said, it's going to be a game that should go over, because it was at 231.5. It's dropped to 229. I know that bettors are thinking like, well, you're not going to have so-and-so in the game. You're not going to have this guy in the game. Well, this just makes other guys off the bench play a little bit harder. So I truly do feel like we do get the over in the spot. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, let's go ahead and get into a game that's already been played as well, too. You have the Hawks and the Thunder tonight. This game is going to be in OKC. These teams did play back last month, and OKC actually won that game in Atlanta. So, you have the OKC squad coming in here as they do, coming in here very confident. You know what I mean? Because the Thunder are playing really good basketball this month. But the Hawks are too. The Hawks are actually 7-5 here in the month of January. They're 11-14 straight up on the road. They're 15-11 straight up as a favorite. And they're 7-7 straight up versus the Western Conference. Now, against the spread, they're 20-27-1. And on the road, they're 10-14-1. And this is against the spread as well, too. Now, as a favorite, they're 9-17 against the spread. And versus the West, they're 6-8 against the spread. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, they actually have went over in 27 of their 48 games. Now, the Thunder, as I already said, have one of the better records in January. They are actually 8-3 this month. And they are on the outside looking in, but they're just like the Lakers. They are in the driver's spot to actually get a playing spot this year, or possibly put themselves in the top 6. So you have Hawks team coming in here 24-24, and then you have this Thunder team coming into the game, and they're not 238.5 either, but let me go ahead and get you guys the correct number. They are going to be 23-24 coming into the game. So as I said before, just like the Lakers, they are right there in the group. They are right there. Even though the Lakers got 26 losses and they got 24, it doesn't matter. They are right there. And this team could be in the playoffs right now if they want. If everything goes a certain way tonight, they could be 24-24, the 10 seed tonight. So, that's how this game is a little bit more critical for OKC to stay in the race. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they're really too worried about the kid from Australia, because they know that they got draft picks and they know that they can figure out a way to get to that top draft pick as well too. And they just don't want to. They probably don't want to get into the hype of that situation either, because they already had a guy that they talked immensely like that who was nice and long, and his name was Kevin Durant. So you know how that goes. But all in all, I'm looking at OKC. They're 8-3 this in the month of January. They're also 15-8 straight up at home. They're 19-16 straight up as the underdog this year. They're 12-11 straight up versus the Eastern Conference, and against the spread, they're 30-16-1. Now against the spread at home, they're 15-8, and when it comes down to the spread as an underdog, they're 24-10-1. Now versus the Eastern Conference, they are 15-8 against the spread. So what does that mean? That means that this team is absolutely money when it comes to that spread. So they are 27 and they are actually have went over in 27 of their 47 games this year. So I like this game a lot tonight, but I feel like this game actually goes under the 238.5. Both these teams are going to be really intense, and this is going to be a very, very, very strong game tonight for both of these teams. Now, we move forward. Let's go ahead and get into the final game of the night. And this one is going to be the Grizzlies and the Warriors. This is starting to become the TV rivalry somewhat, because you got the Grizzlies who have a big chip on their shoulder from all those beatdowns from the Warriors, and the Warriors got a big chip on their shoulder because the Grizzlies just talk too much. So this is going to be a fun game because the Warriors already have the advantage here because they've already beaten the Grizzlies this season. Now, the Grizzlies come in here 9-3 in the month of January, but peep this, they've lost their last 3 games in a row. I wouldn't say that they're reeling right now, but they just don't look good at the same time. But they're playing against really tough teams as well, too. You know, playing Denver was no walk in the park, and playing Sacramento the other night was no walk in the park either. So it is what it is at the end of the day. So pretty much, I think they played Phoenix. I'm sorry. They played Phoenix, lost to Phoenix, and then they played. They lost to the Lakers, lost to Phoenix, and then they lost to the other night. They wound up losing to, because we had it on here. They wound up losing that game the other night they wound up losing that game the other night to the Kings. So they are 1-6 as an underdog this year as well, too. They're only 11-13 straight up on the road as well. And versus the Eastern Conference, versus the Western Conference, they are actually 15-13 this year. So that is something that you kind of say, okay, they've been beating up on the Eastern Conference a lot. So, they're having their woes with the West, and this is something that we all look at when it comes to playoff time as well, too. So if they can't really hang with the West like you think that they can, then this is a team that's going to be maybe messing up your money in the playoffs as well, too. They are 16-31-2 against the spread. They're 8-15-1 against the spread on the road. They're 2-5 against the spread as an underdog, and they're 9-18-1 against the spread versus the Western Conference. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, they've went under in 23 of their 47 games this year. So, and they got 2 pushes as well. So that's why they got the under the 23. Now, Warriors come into this month 4-6 in the month of January. Kind of struggling a little bit, even home games have become a difficult task. 17-6 straight up at home, and they've lost 3 of those games this month. And when it comes down to being a favorite, they're 17-13 in that category straight up. And then when it comes to the West, they're 13-9 straight up. Against the spread, they're 22-24-1. Against the spread at home, they're 14-8-1. Against the spread as a favorite, 13-16-1. And then versus the Western Conference, they're 12-10 against the spread. Now, in their 47 games, they've actually went over in 27 of them. So this team is looking to get some more wins going on because they are literally on the bubble of 10 seed and being out the playoffs. And the Warriors need to get back into the flow of things somewhat, but I still think that they'll be right where they need to be because they're another team that's due for a big streak as well too. But at this point right now, this is a must-win game for them. But I think with the way that the Grizzlies have lost these last 3 games, they're going to be ready to bounce back and bounce back big here. And I think that they're going to overbet the Warriors because they know the Grizzlies are coming in here a little off. And, they've lost some games that they should have won. But all in all, there's going to be a lot of money going towards the Warriors because they're going against a team that's 1-6 as a underdog. Yeah, they can be the number 2 seed in the West, but still, it's just a really, really tough call for anybody. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and have the Grizzlies as my dog of the day, plus 140. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out, and we go from there. All right, so with that, we're going to take another quick commercial break, and when I get back, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up with Talking Tickets, and you guys stay tuned to the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, here we are. We are back with the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. Let's go ahead and jump into Talking Tickets. I know that you guys are anticipating it. You guys are getting pumped up for it. Like, boy, hurry up and give me them Talking Tickets. You know. All right, so we have the Primetime PK6, 37-1. We have UCONN with the -6.5 here. We have High Point money line with the -120. We have Fordham with the +3.5, and then we also have Western Carolina University with the -7. And then we have UCF, who's playing Houston tonight, with the +10.5. And then we wrap it up with Cal Baptist with the -180 tonight in that spot where they're at in the WAC. So we have a 37-1 PK6 ticket. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, we have ourselves the DogDay PK4 in the CBB as well, too. We have Loyola, Maryland, Patriot League, +210 going for us tonight. We also have Nebraska with the +130 tonight as well, too. We also have East Tennessee State. If you don't know who ETSU is, it's East Tennessee State. They are going to be +175 tonight in their Southern matchup. And then you have Wake Forest at +130 tonight. They're a road team as well, too. So we got 1 home team and 3 road teams. Let's see if they can get us home and get us these tickets cashed. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. And we actually cashed our biggest dog last night as well, too, which was Buffalo at +225 as well. So we wrap it up with the NBA Super High Five. We have the 27-1 ticket here, Nets +6. We also have the Pelicans money line -150. Then we have the over 229 with the Nuggets and the Bucks. And then we have the under 238.5 with the Hawks and the Thunder. And then we have our dog of the day in the NBA, the Grizzlies +140. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's going to be our Talking Tickets for today. So you guys got 3 great tickets, all got great value to it. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Let's hope for the best today as well, too. But once again, I just want to say that you guys are the absolute best. And today was not the easiest day for me, but we had to move forward in life. We had to make sure that we stay strong because we never know when we're going to go. But at the end of the day, this is a day of happiness. It's a day of celebration. And I just want to say, once again, happy birthday, Pops. Happy 75th. And we love you. We miss you. And I can't wait to see you on the other side. So It is what it is at the end of the day. But once again, this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.